one man surrounded by a pack of wild cheetahs. Any weakness or mistake could be his last.
There's no way I can show any greatness now, right now. Eventually, if I have to fight, I will fight.
He stares fear in the eye.
Eye contact is the most important thing.
He's won the face-off and been accepted as part of the pack. Olivier Wale is the cheetah man. Namibia. The land between two deserts. Its grasslands merge into sandy plains and farmlands. Teeming with wildlife, this vast land used to be home to thousands of wild predators. But their numbers have declined dramatically, as man has all but wiped them out. 20 miles outside the Namibian capital, Windhoek, deep in the Namibian bush, is Amani. A safari lodge, home to rescued lions, leopards and cheetahs. It's here that you'll find Olivier Wale, a 28-year-old with an extraordinary affinity with the most vulnerable of the big cats. He spends every morning, as he has done for the last 4 years, with a special group of cheetahs.
Basically, we're gonna enter their territory, which is huge and big, and see if we can get close to them this morning.
This rocky enclosure is home to 5 wild male cheetahs, and it's very much their territory.
You see their fur, their camouflage is exactly the same color as the grass. They're just perfectly adapted to run in this bush.
Olivier's in the cheetah's domain, and they'll come to him when he calls, but to show him who's in charge, they challenge him every time.
So in this kind of situation, eye contact is extremely important. And never let them think that you could be eventually weak.
One tiny slip, and Olivier could be attacked and mauled by the whole pack.
And obviously with 5 of them surrounded by them, it makes it a little tricky.
For him to get close to them, he makes himself appear as big and as imposing as he can. He lifts his hand up to make them focus on that, whilst holding his nerve.
There is no way for me to have any fear, no doubt.
After a while, the bond begins to work, and he has now become part of their pack.
So you can see they completely accept me. Because they get tense a bit, but I'm surrounded by them and they don't try anything on me. And that took time to develop a trust like this.
These 5 male cheetahs are lucky to be alive, as they were rescued as cubs in the wild.
People shot their mother when they were obviously very young. The weakness of cheetahs in a way is that they do need to spend 2 years minimum with their mother to be able to learn about survival, to learn how to be the fastest, and to learn how to avoid competition as well in the wild.
Cheetahs are the fastest land mammal, but they are also the most vulnerable of all the big cats. Their incredible speed makes them effective hunters, but hunters just as quickly can become the hunted, as they can easily fall prey to lions and leopards. By working together as a group or a coalition, they make more effective predators and can protect each other from being attacked.
Well, I'm quite in a tricky situation right now. Hey, hey, hey!
But this group has
Hey.
become such an effective coalition that Olivier will soon find them all turning on him like never before.
If I have to fight, I will fight.
Olivier Wale was only 18 years old when he turned his back on the bright lights of Paris to live in isolation in the Namibian bush.
Living in cities and in civilization, I didn't realize how much life was amazing and how nature was incredible, and that actually paradise is right here. All this is perfect. Nature is working perfectly, and especially without human beings. My life for these past 10 years is to go backwards according to civilization evolution. I'm going back to the wild, I'm going back to the roots in order to understand why we're here.
Forsaking a life in the city for a life in the wilderness, he found his true home amongst the lions, leopards and cheetahs at Amani. It was here that he first discovered his hidden talent for interacting with big cats.
Oh, Bongani boy!
His first bond was with two Kalahari lions, Bongani and Sarabi. These lions were raised by humans, but were abandoned by their previous owners when they became too aggressive.
The most difficult part of this project was to actually get the trust back. And obviously this is not something that you can really learn in books. Day after day, for many months, it took me actually 8 months to become friend with the lions. Hey guys, here you are. Are you hungry again?
Like the cheetahs, Bongani repeatedly challenged Olivier whenever he came anywhere near the fence. No one could get close to him. No one except Olivier.
So very intimidating, very intimidating. And if you manage to control your fear at that moment, because for 8 months this is what happened to me every single day, and I managed to stand my ground and show him that I was not scared.
Then one day, Bongani lowered his head and calmly walked towards him. A sign that Olivier had been accepted.
You have a nice day? When I saw Bongani coming to me with his head down, showing that he would actually greet me the way he would do it with his own species, head to head, then I knew that was the day, that was the time, the trust between him and me would start. He's really lucky because whatever happened, every day he's got the coolest haircut.
Now Bongani comes to him whenever he calls. Olivier's bond with Bongani grows stronger day by day. But he knows it's that human interaction with lion cubs in the first place that means Bongani could never be released. But Olivier's true calling in life came from the relationship he developed from looking after some tame cheetahs also living at Amani. Like the lions, having been raised by humans, they too will never be free.
These cheetahs are born to be wild and free, like any one of us. They have been taken away from the wild and raised by humans, and they didn't have the chance to learn what they're supposed to learn with their mother in nature to be able to survive. Unfortunately, they're never able to go back to the wild. I started to think deeply how could I help cheetahs to grow up from small to adult and be able to go back, to go free.
To make his dream come true, Olivier turned to one of the world's leading experts on the plight of cheetahs, Dr. Laurie Marker.
The cheetah is a very special animal. It's speed, built for running, and the elegance of it. It's just a very graceful and beautiful animal. I think that's what fascinates me, how an animal as beautiful as the cheetah and special, revered by kings, emperors, and princes for thousands of years, today is walking a fine line whether it's going to have survival in the future or not.
Come here, come. There you go, big girl.
Dr. Marker
girl.
has spent over 30 years working with cheetahs and today runs the Cheetah Conservation Fund around 200 miles north of Amani.
The decline of the cheetahs primarily has to do with loss of habitat.
Okay, let's try that. Okay, there you go.
The loss of prey base, and as the human populations have grown throughout Africa, they have taken over more and more of the areas where cheetahs live.
But the cheetah's biggest threat is man.
About 20% of the cheetahs that we work on are orphaned without mothers, and instead of the farmers killing them, they now will call us and we end up with these orphan animals.
Releasing cheetahs back into the wild is a difficult process, but releasing orphan cheetahs is even harder. Cheetahs are taught their hunting skills from their mother until the age of 18 months. They hunt in a close group or a coalition made up of brothers. Without a mother, orphan cheetahs usually end up in captivity for the rest of their lives. But for the first time in Namibia, Laurie put 5 unrelated orphan male cubs together to form an artificial coalition. If they can bond as a unit, they'll have a better chance of survival in the wild.
Amani asked that they were interested in having an area for their cheetahs. We went and looked at their facility and felt that they had a very nice area and put this group of 5 male cheetahs there.
When the Cheetah Conservation Fund sent the 5 orphan cheetahs to Amani, little did Olivier realise how much a part of his life they would become. Olivier quickly realised that the cheetahs were wild enough to survive on their own, but they were going to need his help.
Very quickly, I understood that I had to think like these cheetahs. I had to become like they are in order to enter their world, and that's basically the only way you can really do something for them. A lot of people, scientific guys, study many years to know as much as they can about cheetahs, but they never had the time to spend every single day for such a long time close to them. That's the challenge I decided to take on.
But could these orphan cheetahs learn how to survive in the wild without their mothers to teach them? It was a unique experiment, fraught with difficulties. Olivier has spent every day watching this group and learning about their behaviour.
Without mother, and me being just a human being, it was extremely difficult to teach them anything. So the only solution I had was to put them in most natural situation, and hoping that coalition of 5 cheetahs would eventually build a hierarchy, very strong hierarchy. So as you can see in a very obvious way, is their instinct is to chase whatever is running in front of them. So if you do behave like a springbok, you might end up like a springbok too.
It's taken 4 years of daily face-offs to allow him to be accepted and to see that the experiment is working. They've built an effective hierarchy without their mothers, and Olivier is now fully accepted by them.
So all this time spending with them allow me to actually become part of them, which is quite incredible. It took me a lot of time to understand what was the rules of nature and how you should behave, even close to potential dangerous carnivores, which is the proof actually that we can understand and communicate with these animals and live in harmony with them. And I think we can really confirm that the dominance belongs to the strongest personality. So it's not according to the strength of the cheetahs or the size of his bodies. It's really according to his personality and his determination for survival.
In the 4 years he's spent with them, he's got to know each of the cheetah's characters.
If we start from the boss, the leader of the group, his name would be Ra. He's the one with the strongest personality, and that's why he is the leader. Kia, his brother, he would be number 2. Kia has got a very strong instinct. You can see that he's working very close to his brother. This one is the only one who's got no brother. Ushara is the solitary one in a way. He's been confiscated from that farm, but he was alone. He had no brother or sister. He took the 3rd place in the hierarchy after having many months of challenge with number 2, Kia. And then you will have the 2 biggest brothers, Lind and Cadbury. Yeah, funny chocolate name. And they are actually the biggest one of the group. They are very impressive cheetahs, Lind being the 4th one. Cadbury being the 5th one. And again, it's just because their personality and their level of determination is a bit weaker than the other ones.
The pecking order of the group, or coalition, can clearly be seen when Olivier feeds them.
When they're all together on the same prey, they have to somehow follow a kind of hierarchy. And if you observe their behavior at that moment when they feed all together, you can see that only one at the end will stay on the bigger piece. And that's the one who has got the strongest instinct.
One by one, they peel off, strictly in reverse order, according to their rank in the hierarchy. So the first to leave is the largest cheetah, the fighter, Cadbury. Before long, his brother Lint, the tough guy, Kia, the inquisitive one, and then Mushara, the loner, leaving the dominant one, Ra, to feast alone.
So number 2 gave up, and one more time, the leader is the winner until maybe tomorrow.
This bodes well for the future of the coalition, all signs that they will work together when released back into the wild. But the lives of this artificial gang of cheetahs are about to change forever, and the efficiency of their coalition will be put to the ultimate test. Six hours southwest of Windhoek is the Namibran Nature Reserve. The largest private nature reserve in southern Africa, comprising of an area of more than 170,000 hectares. It's into this vast wilderness that the cheetahs are soon to be released. The Namibran Nature Reserve is made up of 13 former livestock farms, which were turned into a vast sanctuary for herds of wild animals, including springbok, zebras, ostrich and oryx. But numbers have increased so much, they're getting out of hand.
We're at a stage now where the wildlife has recovered so well that we have to sort of turn our attention to re-establishing a predator population. We approached the Cheetah Conservation Foundation several years ago, saying to them we'd like to reintroduce cheetah into this area as they used to occur here naturally.
Cheetahs used to live there, so this was a prime area. We felt that these Amani cats were a prime group of animals that we could do this next step reintroduction research on.
It's the cheetahs' last night at Amani, and Olivier calls them together for the last time. He has to shepherd them into a holding pen, where at first light they will each have a medical to prepare them for the 500-mile journey to Namibrand. But the gang of 5 are in no mood to go.
good camouflage. Wow, I'm quite in a tricky situation right now. Hey, hey, hey! Hey! Cadbury is the one I really have to check.
It's a dangerous moment as the Chocolate Brothers, Lint the tough guy and Cadbury the fighter, square up to Olivier.
So eye contact would be the most important thing right now. There is no place for weakness, no place.
For the first time, the cheetahs work together as a group, as Keir, Mushara and Ra join forces with Lint and Cadbury to challenge Olivier.
It's time to show what I learned for these past 4 years. How to be strong. Alright, guys. Eventually, if I have to fight, I will fight. So the reason why my hand is up like this is I must make myself as big as I can. That's also a very efficient way of intimidation.
But their behaviour is a good sign. The coalition is now a strong one.
All came to me, all of them. Whatever they do it all together. The power of this coalition is really something. I wouldn't have liked to be a Springbok right now, because really you can feel that they are extremely strong, being all 5. This coalition is amazing. They look so strong and so powerful. They have such a level of determination. I really think they are ready now, ready to go free.
Olivier Wale has spent the last 4 years building a close relationship with a special group of cheetahs. Ra, the dominant one and leader of the group. Keir, his brother, the inquisitive one. Mushara, the loner and most solitary. And the Chocolate Brothers, Lint, the tough guy, and Cadbury the fighter, and the one who always challenges Olivier first. These 6-year-old orphan male cheetahs were put together to see if they could form an artificial coalition and survive on their own in the wild. Their challenging behaviour is a good sign that they're working together. But the real test is still to come. It's departure day for the cheetahs. They've been shepherded into a holding pen, ready for the arrival of the team from the Cheetah Conservation Fund. Olivier's living room has been converted into a makeshift clinic. For Olivier, today is the moment he's been looking forward to for the last 4 years.
Well, I'm feeling quite excited. Today is the day that we transfer the 5 cheetahs into their new environment, new territory. So basically we're going to have to dart every one of them, do the last sperm collection, Siemens, for their genetical project, take some blood sample, endoscopy, and obviously the radio collar that we will put on each individual to be able to track them later on when they will be free. So it's a great moment, yeah, and a long day of work.
The next few days are crucial to the cheetahs' chances of survival. And before they leave, they're going to be given a full medical to ensure they're in top health, ready for their release.
I think a lot of people think that putting animals back out in the wild is something that's very, very easy. Animals that have been habituated, like these cats, the chances of their survival are risky.
The first cheetah to be darted is Mushara, the loner, and number 3 in the hierarchy.
Hey guys,
He's the
hey,
shyest of the group.
Look at this.
He's also the most
Look at this.
nervous.
Whoops. Uh-oh. Watch out.
Mushara has been darted first. He's the shyest one, and that's why we choose to dart him first, in order to reduce the stress of every one of them.
As they wait for the anaesthetic to take hold, it's a tense moment for everybody.
This is always, in a way, a stressful moment when you put asleep animals, because you can estimate approximately what dose of anesthetic You can give them, but it's always a tricky thing to do, and that's why tension is starting now.
As soon as the vet is confident that Mushara has gone under, he's taken back to the makeshift clinic for a series of tests.
Today what we'll be doing is endoscoping them. They've been a part of a long-term study where we will be looking at their stomach linings and taking little biopsies from that.
Next under the gun is number 2, Kia, the inquisitive one and the most adventurous of all the cheetahs.
Excellent.
This medical check isn't just to prepare them for a life in the wild. It will also assist to conserve the future of the species. Having almost been wiped out 10,000 years ago, cheetahs today are so inbred that reproduction is fraught with problems.
We will also be collecting sperm, and the sperm will be frozen in our genome resource bank.
The sperm bank will allow the Cheetah Conservation Fund and its scientific partners to potentially spread the gene pool across Africa and the Middle East to improve the species' chance of survival.
It seems from observation that the sperm are pretty okay, which obviously could work for the new generation later on, especially being free. We hope that they will meet females, so that's a good thing.
Every cat will have a full overview health check as well. So we'll be looking in their mouth and their eyes, between their toes. You got it?
Yeah.
As cheetahs roam for miles in the wild, Ra, Kia, Mushara, Lint and Cabri will be fitted with radio and 2 satellite collars between them. They will be monitored for the next 2 years.
We'll be able to monitor them every few hours via a computer. If they do go out of reach of the VHF collars, we will be able to know exactly where they are using the satellite collars. We're on our last cat. We've got the collar going on him. We've gotten through the day. The day's been quite good. We're on a road to putting these cats back out in the wild. It's quite exciting.
It's 6 in the morning at Amani, and the convoy is ready to head off to freedom.
We're about to drive to the Namib, a wonderful place, my favorite place in Namibia. Okay, now no way back. Going to freedom. So heading to the Namib Brain, about 6 hours drive, and this is exactly where we're going, southwest, getting close to the sea dunes, the Namib Nokluft. An amazing place, extremely beautiful, perfect environment for cheetahs. Such a great feeling to hit the road in this country. Landscape is amazing, every 100 kilometers it changes, and basically there is nobody around, so it's a real amazing feeling of freedom.
The journey takes the convoy around the Nowcliff Mountains, down onto the Zaris Plateau and through the oldest desert in the world.
A lot of cattle farms. Used to actually be very angry with cheetahs and carnivores. And since we've been talking a lot together, they actually stopped shooting them and stopped trapping them. We are entering million years of evolution. This is absolutely incredible here. We are at the doors of the oldest desert in the world, the Namib Desert. This is like going into the past in a way, and it makes you feel a bit small here.
After a grueling 6-hour journey, they finally arrive at Namibrand. the largest private nature reserve in southern Africa. The first few days of the cheetah's new life will be spent in a specially built 2-hectare enclosure. Once they've got used to the new smells and surroundings of the reserve, the gate will be opened and the 5 cheetahs will finally be able to roam free.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
Here we are, the very first step of freedom. Obviously, it would be a bit dangerous to let them go right now in 200,000 hectares. So the first step is to let them get used to their new environment in quite a small territory here. We're going to be able to feed them for quite some days. And then when we feel that they are ready to go, then we're going to open the gate and let them go in this amazing environment, which is definitely cheetah paradise, full of springboks.
It's a lovely place for them.
Although cheetahs are the fastest land mammal, they're also the most vulnerable of the big cats. Their speed allows them to hunt and eat quickly, but they soon become the target of lions and leopards themselves. Like their mothers before them, their biggest danger, however, is from farmers protecting their livestock.
We're protected by at least 3/4 of the reserve. There's a couple farmers that we know have a bit of a problem. You're okay?
I'm feeling a bit funny, weird. It's difficult to explain. I'm feeling very, very happy.
Yeah.
Freedom is just the best I could ever wish for them. And, well, they've been part of my family for 4 years. They've been actually my family.
The people here at Namibrand have spent years trying to develop this into a wildlife sanctuary again.
Great. So basically they are, in a way, again, the ambassador of their kinds, and they will represent, in a way, in the Namibrand. What a great day.
Yep, there we go.
Thank you for helping me to do that.
Yeah, thank you for helping me to do this.
Well, I think it's a great collaboration.
Yeah, you betcha.
The cheetahs have spent their first few days in their enclosure at Namibrand. They've been fed regularly and watered. It's become a safe haven for them. Today they'll get their first taste of freedom and be able to finally venture out into the vast expanse of wilderness, and both Laurie and Olivier are apprehensive. This is the first time in Namibia that unrelated orphan cheetahs have been put together as a group for reintroduction to the wild, and they'll have to use all their skills.
I think often that people think that you can take animals and put them out in the wild. You're throwing them out in the middle of no place, and they don't have those skills. It's not an easy process, and the chances of success are really quite limited. It's really not for Bambi lovers, because there might be up to 50 to 90% mortality out of it.
This is the culmination of 4 years' work, and everyone is anxious for it to be a success. When the gate is opened and the cheetahs walk out to freedom, no one really knows what will happen and what dangers lie ahead. Olivier knows, however, that the next few days are crucial to their survival, and they'll need to be watched carefully as they get used to their new surroundings.
When the gate will be open, when there will be no more fences, when there will be 100,000 hectares to run free, they're going to have to need someone for the first weeks, the first months before they really start to hunt for themselves. And eventually that will be the time for me to pull back and let them live free.
Take longer than you think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get in.
Yeah.
The monitoring equipment is checked to see that the cheetahs can still be tracked. Everything is ready.
Okay.
The time has finally come for Ra, Kia, Mushara, Lynn and Cadbury to be released.
Yes, it seems they're looking outside since the very first day.
And we're just going to keep this gate open, and they can come and go from here as they want, whatever they want.
But they're nervous, so Olivier gives them some incentive. The cheetahs follow Kia, the inquisitive one and most adventurous of the cheetahs, and they are finally free.
Here we go. Come on guys, you must run free.
It's the first time these 5 orphans will face the wild on their own.
My emotions were obviously very close to pure happiness. That was something I would have never dreamed of, to be able to help them to grow up as wild as possible and to be able to run free in this amazing cheetah paradise.
As soon as the gate is open, the cheetahs head for the hills, with Olivier, Laurie and the team tracking their every move.
I love to see him trotting up that hill. It's exactly where I would have gone. Andres? How can we get over there now, in that direction?
The release itself is only the start of the process.
Get us to that direction?
Olivier and Laurie know that the next days are crucial to the cheetah's survival.
We're going to have to truck behind them by foot, watching them, making sure that they are feeding properly. If they're going to hunt, what they're going to hunt. If they are hunting, they're not going to get hurt. And then the distances that they may cover.
Cheetahs can move long distances and have an average range of up to 600 square miles, and this group is no different. They're being adventurous and explore their new territory. Everyone is keen for them to make their first kill, and it's not long before they sight their first springbok.
They've spotted the springbok. No, they're going right past.
It's been a successful first day of freedom, and by sunset, Ra, Kia, Mushara, Lint and Cadbury have travelled over 8 miles and stopped for the night near a mountain range.
There's huge elation, yes, being excited on the fact that they're out there, and then the anticipation of what's coming next.
Beside my fear of these 5 cheetahs not be able to survive and to hunt for themselves, I believe that it's much better to live a short time free than a very long time captive. That's on what is based all my mission: freedom.
But the next day, the cheetahs will wander further than anyone had anticipated. They're heading close to livestock farmers who could shoot them on sight. A unique experiment has been taking place in Namibia, in southwest Africa. For the past 4 years, Olivier Wale has used his remarkable affinity with cheetahs to get him close enough to 5 orphan cubs and see if they were ready to go back into the wild. It's taken years of planning. The first time a reintroduction of an artificial group of unrelated orphan cheetahs has been attempted in Namibia. Their very survival over the next few days will hang on Olivier's special bond with them.
If I am nervous, it's about knowing if they're gonna survive or not. My worst fear is that they don't really manage to hunt for themselves, so they eventually starve.
They were placed with him by Dr. Laurie Marker from the Cheetah Conservation Fund, and the plan is working.
Yeah, I see.
The cheetahs are together and behaving like a natural coalition, but at the end of the first week, there's a problem. The cheetah's satellite collars show that they are heading towards a mountain range where it will be difficult to follow them and where there is little prey to eat.
No, they're heading towards the mountain, east.
But more worryingly, they're getting alarmingly close to some livestock farms where they could be shot, just like their mothers were.
Do you see them at all? Do you see us?
Which direction they're going? They seem to be just milling about, but slowly but surely heading back towards the Burma.
No, they're heading towards the mountain.
We certainly don't want them to go south. Again, there's 1 or 2 farmers down there that we need to spend some time with who don't like cheetahs at all.
Okay, let's go. That's a great mountain.
The Namibian cheetah is classified as being a protected animal, but it can be shot to protect life or property. It's a loophole used by livestock farmers who view cheetahs as a threat to their livestock. The cheetahs are somewhere in the mountains, oblivious to the danger they're in. They haven't eaten for a few days and are weak and tired from exploring their vast new territory. And to make matters worse, they haven't hunted yet, and it's impossible to reach them in a four-wheel drive. Olivier's unique bond with the cheetahs is now crucial to their survival.
Olivier has shown that he can call them in and make sure that they're having water.
But Olivier has to find them first, and then try to bring them down to the plains where they can see the herds of springbok.
Well, we are in this place called Moringa Valley, full of mountains around us, which makes it quite difficult to spot them. It's a little worrying because we definitely need to see them today.
Locating the cheetahs in this mountain range takes all of Olivier's bush skills. After hours of searching, Olivier finally spots Kia, the inquisitive one, and Cadbury, the fighter. It's not long before he also notices some new developments.
The whole hierarchy system that I've observed for these past 4 years has changed completely. Cadbury, which used to be the 5th one in the hierarchy, is actually leading the whole group. And Ra is becoming actually, in a way, pretty shy. Kia, surprisingly too, is extremely curious, moving away from the group, discovering, marking, climbing trees like he used to do.
All the experience he has gained over the years spent observing them will be needed now. The cheetahs need to be coaxed down and away from the mountains to the grasslands below. A few hours later, and Olivier brings them down and feeds them. The experiment is back on track. Seeing the 5 cheetahs alive and well has reassured Olivier that despite the change in leadership, the coalition is holding together.
Quite a relief to see them eating now. Oh, after all these days, probably extremely happy now.
After 4 years of growing stronger as a group, the cheetahs stand a very good chance of survival. But from now on, it's up to them.
It's gonna be tough now. You're gonna have to survive and hunt for yourself every single day, guys. So stay alert.
Olivier's time with the cheetahs at Namibrand is coming to an end. He has to head back home, as he's expecting another delivery. 5 new orphan cheetahs are being sent from the Cheetah Conservation Fund for him to care for. He'll have to develop a bond with these new cheetahs, just as he did with Ra, Kia, Mushara, Lint and Cadbury.
Being close to them, walking on their side, with no fences, was the greatest feeling I ever felt before. And that brought me even more motivation and strength to carry on.